Thank you very much. I'm extremely grateful and honored to be with you. I'm a soldier, and I'm often asked a simple question: what if there was no war? All that money, which is used for building these modern armies, could be used to make the world a better place. Indeed, a world without war would be an ideal state. There would be no strife, no suffering. It would be utopia, like heaven on earth. But I think otherwise. You see, perhaps the reason that we dominate our planet is because we are able to fight using technology to overcome our limitations. My premise is this: that war and technology together have shaped the modern civilization as we know it. When we were in school, we were taught that this was the most important invention of them all, the wheel. I disagree. To me, it is this, the spearhead, which is the most critical invention of them all. Why? Why the spearhead? Because the spear allowed us to defend ourselves. It allowed us to hunt more effectively. But more importantly, when we learned how to make the spearhead by taking two stones, hitting them, and shaping them, we understood that we could also create fire. Because two stones, when stuck together, if they are hard enough, will lead sparks. The fact that we could tame fire also meant that the animals that we killed, we were able to cook them. And animal proteins became easily digestible. And this shaped our brains. It is a tool that laid the foundations for the industries such as the material industry, the construction industry, the clothing industry, and of course the arms industry. Let me tell you how. We learnt about materials by understanding the hardness and softness. We understood mechanics by the amount of force that had to be applied, the direction in which it had to be applied. You see, construction. The fact that we are in this modern building and it has a beautiful facade, and there's a beautiful Raigad fort just about 25 to 30 kilometers away from here, which is a testimony to engineering, is because somewhere, long time back, our forefathers picked up two stones and started hammering at them. Clothing. The spearhead was not just an implement to kill, but it was also an implement to cut. It allowed us to use animal hides as clothing, as shelter, and body armor, shields. And that's why the arms industry. And believe you me, the wheel came after, because if we had not made the spearhead, we would have never learned the technique of how to shape stone. But then stone has a few problems associated with it. It is very difficult to work with. It is not easy to mass produce. And that's why, let's talk metals. Metals are harder, they last longer, they can hold sharp edges better, and they can be recycled, reused when broken, plus they are easy to mass produce. The initial usage was with softer metals and alloys. The bronze, copper, you've read in the schools, these were the ages, the Bronze Age. So that's how. This was the first place where we used them. But then we discovered iron, a much harder material. And from iron came steel. Our world today is unimaginable without these two. This auditorium is built on RCC. It would not have happened if there was no steel. Two great wars and the Cold War, 20th century. In the beginning of this century, the Wright brothers made the first powered manned flight. Had it not been for the World War I and World War II, no country would have invested the great amount of intellectual resources and financial resources to build up the aero industry as we know it. That A380 would not have been here today had it not been for that war. Millions travel by air today. How? Because of the radar. Because that ensures that separation is maintained between aircrafts. It would not have been possible without that. Take communications, solid state radios, and your smartphones. This happened because soldiers like me needed lightweight and power efficient and effective means of communication. It would not have happened so fast had it not been for these wars. Satellites. Today, everything that is taking place is based on satellites, communication, entertainment, weather warning, just to name a few. All of these are because we have satellites. But the satellites reached their orbits, had their beginning in the V1 and V2 rockets, which the Germans had made in the Second World War. Internet. Life is unimaginable without it. When I was born, there was no internet. But today, I cannot do without it. DARPA would have never thought of making two computers talk had it not been for the reason that it was needed for data exchange for systems of war. There would have been no Google. There would have been no knowledge at the click of a button or a mouse. Nuclear power. Nuclear power has a bad reputation. But I personally believe that this has the massive scope for providing clean energy and is one of the most viable solutions to tackle climate change. Think of the miniaturized reactors which are being used in nuclear submarines. These hold the key to providing power at far-flung locations which are inaccessible to the national grids. All this because of war. So how will the future unfold? Now, there are too many technologies and too many fields of warfare to talk about in the time that has been given to me. So I have picked up a few examples. Let's start. The Other Side of the Hill. This is a book by B.H. Littlehart, and it encompasses the statement by all generals because they've always wanted to know what is on the other side of the hill. What is the intention of the enemy? So what it implies is information. That is the key to success. Now, all modern armies have a range of sensors. These could be land-based, air-based, sea-based, or space-based in satellites. About 2 decades earlier, the data which was being generated from these was being analyzed by a bevy of trained operators, but they could not keep up with the input which was coming their way. But with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science, it is now possible to analyze this information in a much faster time scale. As our computational capabilities increase, probably through quantum computing, it would be possible one day to have real-time battlefield understanding in a manner that is, as of now, incomprehensible. Another thing, today all of us carry smartphones. Now a smartphone, even when it is silent, is talking. It is creating event points. Even if you switch it off and put it on an airplane mode, the GPS is still talking. I'm sure that you have seen videos wherein people have carried out a absolutely switched off mobile phone in airplane mode, and still the researchers have been able to track your activities. That means that activity patterns can now be established and deciphered. And this brings me to the field of predictive analysis. Between 2010 and 2014, a research was carried out by a reputed university in the United States where they focused on 10 Latin American countries and using only open source data. That means social media feeds like Twitter, WhatsApp, and others, and the activities on the search engines, various search engines, Google or Microsoft Bing, any of these. And these researchers were able to predict when unrest would take place, and they were correct almost 95% of the time. This brings me to the point that data is the new currency. This is the reason why all countries are now hell-bent on enacting laws to keep data within their own boundaries. Because whoever has your data knows you, and if your enemy knows you, then you are in trouble. Point to ponder. Moving on, the next field where I feel that maximum progress is going to be made is going to be in the terms of robotics and autonomous systems. It is my belief that by the end of this decade, we shall see the first functional battlefield assistants, robots that would be doing very specialized and limited tasks. Why? Things like medical support, resupply, logistics, laying of landmines and removing of landmine, a very risky business. All these can be made to order and taught to such systems. This is where we are going. The loyal wingman. I'm sure some of you would have read Elon Musk's comments, I think that was about last week, where he said that in the future, a person sitting in a console, on a console, would be able to beat the pants off an F-35. The loyal wingman is another variant of that thought process, in that one pilot would be controlling a number of RPVs. Now, the game changer is not the fact that this man would be able to would be able to control so many RPVs. No. The game changer is that the moment you take the human being out of the cockpit, you can design an aircraft that flies faster, higher, can be more agile because there is no concept of G-forces for them, and it is expendable. No loss of human life. Exoskeletons. I'm sure that everybody has seen Avatar. This is likely to be fielded probably even before the battlefield assistant robotics items come on the battlefield. Exoskeletons will be able to ensure that a task which takes a platoon to finish in a day, that means approximately 30 men working throughout the day, that task would be able to be completed by one man, just a single man, in perhaps an hour or so. And how would it affect us, the civilization? We are already seeing drones being used for delivering articles. And while there will be some resistance to having passenger planes being pilotless, what we shall see is unmanned cargo aircrafts. Thereafter, it's a paradoxical thing that as societies evolve, the birth rates tend to fall. And that creates a population bulge, in the sense that you have a lot of old people and very few younger people. So who will take care of these geriatrics? It will be those battlefield medics who will be then transformed into caregivers, nurses, medical assistants in remote areas. That's where you will see these robots. It will take time, but once the economies of scale kick in, we shall see small rural health centers being manned by such systems. Driverless vehicles and all autonomous modern transport systems that are being imagined for the modern cities are going to be based on the technology which is being used for projects such as the Loyal Wingman. And lastly, perhaps the exoskeleton would be would make it possible for a person who's paralyzed to walk again. And lastly, more bang for the bucks. It is not necessary that only new things would be invented. No. It is possible to take an existing tool, merge it with new technology, and make it into a better and more effective tool. For example, let's take the case of a very simple and humble binocular. We use it to watch birds, to spot enemy, whichever takes your fancy. Merge this binocular with an imaging system chip. Build a software around it with machine learning and AI. And now you have a tool wherein not only can it identify what your eye can see, but across spectrums. Not just that, it will also be able to tell you what, where, when, and how, and archive it, geotag it for future reference. It makes a more effective tool. Its usage will be in the form of helping the citizen scientist. I'm sure you're aware of the fact that a large number of conservation effort today is driven by citizen scientists. Like, I'm a passionate bird watcher. So when I observe a bird, I identify it and I put it on an app which says that where did I see it and what was the bird doing. But suppose I had a binocular which was like this. Then the binocular itself could be paired with that app and it would give it the species, what was it doing, what was the time of the day, what was the activity, what was the weather at that time. It would make for a much better system of conservation. In parting, I have, thank you. Before we part, I would like to tell you that the possibilities are endless. Almost 80% of what was science fiction in the 1960s is reality today. Therefore, a request in parting, because all of you are going to be engineers soon. If you wish to be competent engineers, then pay attention to what is being taught in the class. But if you want to be a great engineer, then read humanities, arts, social sciences, linguistics, music, painting, anything which makes you understand how mankind ticks, and your great big idea will lie there. Thank you very much for your time. Grateful. Jai Hind.